Hello. Last time we came 2 weeks ago, we were telling you that we were expecting a mid-October setback on risk assets and that until then, we expected risk assets to linger on up. We believe this time has come and that we will enter a period of retracement which could last 2 to 3 weeks. During this time, we would expect a last move up on defensive assets towards the end of October, early November. We'll now turn to our FinGraphs platform to review our charts and our projections. We'll first start with the hourly chart of the S&P 500, which basically gives this perspective over the next few weeks. As we could see, we're still in a bull trend, but the bull trend is getting very much exhausted. We have almost reached our impulsive 2 targets, that's our most extended targets, and they pointed up to 2556, possibly up to 2579. We are almost there, and there's possibly maximum 1% left of potential over the next few weeks. At the same time, our risk index is well overbought and could soon be turning down into this week and the following week. So the hourly chart is extended. Now moving to the daily chart of the S&P 500, or the perspective over the next few months, it is also nearing exhaustion. It is also looking at its impulsive 2 extended targets towards 2570 and possibly slightly above 2600. But again, that's only 1 to 2% potential. Yet again, our risk index is now also overbought on this daily chart, and we would expect it to soon start topping out and turning down for a correction over the next few weeks. Finally, looking at the weekly chart or the perspective over the next few quarters, the potential up, impulsive up, is pretty much reached. It could still extend as we move along over the next few quarters, but at the moment, it's looking also quite well priced. Our overbought is not quite reached yet, but we're getting towards the levels where we're nearing this overbought band. So there's possibly more potential over the next few quarters on the S&P 500, but not very much. Looking at the summary of all 3 charts, they are still in a bull, and so at the moment, short term, we would still be in a potential continuous uptrend, but yet again, the hourly is very extended and the daily is very extended. So now looking to the defensive assets, we'll first focus on gold. This is the hourly chart of gold or the perspective over the next few weeks. We're still in a downtrend as we speak, but we have pretty much reached our targets down between 1272 and 1248, and it has started to react up. Our risk index is well oversold and is possibly starting to turn up. So we are in an exhausted downtrend over the short term on gold. The daily chart of gold, despite the strong correction that we've seen over the last few weeks, is still uptrending, and we could still reinitiate the uptrend over the next few weeks to make it back towards the mid-1300s, possibly in extreme cases up to the 1400s. The risk index was overbought, but has since corrected down quite nicely and could justify a last move up. Finally, the weekly chart over the next few quarters does seem to have turned around on our oscillator, but at the end of the day, our trend indicator is still uptrending. We believe that the targets are probably aggressive here, but they justify that we could still hold on to the uptrend a while longer. So when we look at all 3 charts together, we're still pretty much in uptrends on the weekly and on the daily, and the hourly is in an oversold position that could start to rebound. We would call this a buy the dips situation over the next few weeks. Now looking at another defensive assets, yet a position here inversely, dollar-yen. Dollar-yen has been moving up quite nicely over the last few weeks. It has been overbought and has started to correct lower. Our impulsive targets up were achieved between 1216 and 1362. They haven't really started to turn down again, but they are certainly exhausted in this trend. Looking at the daily chart of dollar-yen, it has corrected up quite nicely. There possibly is still a week or so left to reach the corrective target zone, but the initial levels of this corrective target zone have been achieved around 1273. Now we believe that we could see a bit of work here down into the end of October, before dollar yen reaccelerates into November. Now looking at the weekly chart has moved up quite nicely. It has reached its corrective targets. It is still in an uptrend and it's quite oversold here. So bear in mind that we do expect some retracement towards the end of October, but over the next few months, next few quarters, we're very positive on dollar yen. The first targets we would see would be around 120, and then above that are impulsive targets, which are not calculated yet, but could justify levels above 130 towards the first quarter next year. So we would expect an intermediate retracement into the end of October. Now looking at all three charts together, the weekly and the daily are slowly repositioning in an uptrend from the correction we've seen earlier this year. It was heavily oversold on the daily. However, the hourly has reached the end of a first leg up. It is now overbought and we would expect it now to correct over the next few weeks. Finally, looking at the euro, which is a bit defensive, a bit growth, but has proven quite strong in periods of risk off over the last few months. We could also see that it's slowly getting oversold. It has almost reached its impulsive targets down between 1698 and 1584. The risk index is well oversold and could be starting to rebound and move up again. Looking at it on a daily chart, we're still hanging on to this uptrend. It's probably not quite over yet. The targets are between 1668, which we achieved, and 120.61, which we almost achieved. We believe that we could see a retest over the next few weeks towards these levels. The risk index is well overbought, so we don't believe this retest could last too long. Finally, looking at the weekly chart of the euro dollar, it has reached its corrective targets up. It would still theoretically have the potential to push a bit higher over the next few months to above 120 and possibly even to 124. But we're slowly getting towards the end of this corrective move up that we've seen since December. So to summarize the euro is still hanging up to a corrective uptrend on the weekly, to an impulsive uptrend on the daily, and seems to be oversold on the hourly. This is also a buy the dips opportunity for a last move up on the euro before it starts to turn, possibly coming November. So in general, we believe risk assets are due for a correction over the next few weeks, and that, on the contrary, defensive assets could have a last move up. On these defensive assets, coming end October, early November, we would consider that a take profit opportunity. Thank you very much and have a good week.